Good evening, everyone. Welcome to A Dance of Polar Opposites. My name is Yong Lin. I am a doctoral candidate at the University of Toronto, Faculty of Music. Tonight's recital features George Rochberg's 50 Caprice variation for solo violin. In the first half, it will be the lecture on the Caprice variation, including a brief introduction on the composer George Rochberg and 4 main features of the piece. The second half, it will be the performance of 22 selected variations. Rochberg's 50 Caprice variations for solo violin was one of first in which Rochberg 50 Caprice variation for solo violin was one of first in which Rochberg's compositional style went through a profound shift. He was a well-established composer, serial composer in 1950s. However, in the 60s, he started to feel this compositional style has come to its end, and Rochberg became one of the first composers who went back to embrace tonality. In his memoir, 5-Line 4 Spaces, Rochberg called the piece a garden of all possibilities, and my interpretation of this statement is that he is indicating 2 ways. First, technically, this piece presents a wide range of all difficult violin techniques. Secondly, musically, it presents a vast array of different musical stylistic references. It's like Rochberg leads us to a garden of all historical musical styles where we can see Baroque style, classical style, Romanticism, a bit dance music, and modern style. And all of these styles are based on one theme. It's from Paganini's Opus 1, number 24. Now, I would like to play this theme for you, and you might recognize this theme in other settings, in other music, probably by Brahms, Rachmaninoff, or Liszt. So you might recognize this theme after Paganini composed this number 1 Caprice, Opus 1 Caprice during 1802 to 1870. Many composers have been trying to emulate the virtuosic spirit by adopting the theme into their own compositions. Beside the past masters mentioned before, Liszt, Brahms, and Rachmaninoff, there are many others, including Isai, Schnicke, Nathan Milstein, and Lutoslawski. And George Rochberg was one of them. What he did differently? Well, he started the most similar way. It's another set of variations, and it's for solo violin. But he made the biggest departure. One of the departure is that the theme is not presenting. Originally, it was presented at the beginning, but Rochberg put it at the end, and he notioned that the performer must play with pianissimo and with the back to the audience. And another other departure includes from the original 5-minute Caprice variation to a massive 90-minute no Caprice variations. From the original 1 virtuosic style to a vast array of different musical styles, incorporating features of Baroque, classical style, Romantic style, and modern style. And these styles leads us to today's theme, A Dance of Polar Opposites. The title itself is actually from a book, A Dance of Polar Opposites, published by Jeremy Gill in 2012. In this book, Rochberg was trying to address the idea that only with the coexistence of the 2 opposite worlds, mainly atonality and tonality, can the music be convincing. And we can further think about what are other opposites in music. Past and present, slow and fast. What else? Soft and loud. As he said in the book, the reconciliation of the 2 opposites is required to maintain the solid embodiment of music. Just like the saying we hear a lot, there's no beauty without ugliness, just as there's no happiness without sorrow. We live in a world of contrast, no absolutes. Now I would like to introduce the composer Rochberg a little bit more. This is Paterson, New Jersey, the United States in 1920s. Rochberg was born in Paterson, New Jersey in 1918 to a Jewish Ukrainian family. This is Rochberg when he was only 25. This was a time when he was studying compositions at Manning School of Music. However, World War II happened, and he was forced to stop his studies and drafted to Army to serve as the infantry lieutenant. It was only until he was seriously injured and he finally could go home and resume his study at Curtis Institute of Music, and he got his bachelor degree there. Like most of the composers in the 50s and 60s, Rochberg's earlier career was focusing mainly on the compositional style, serialism. Now, so you might ask me, what is serialism? Serialism is a very different way of composing. Traditionally, composer will write out a beautiful melody and harmonize it. Serialism is an organization of music. It is a process in which a series of pitches are arranged in a specific order, and composer must strictly follow the rules. It is more like composing in a mechanical and strategic ways. Arnold Schoenberg, his 12-tone system, is a classic and great example. Composer will write down a couple pitches. Let's use this chart as an example. So they will write down a couple pitches which completes 12 tones, and we call this a prime row from the left to right. Then they will take the form and perform different kinds of operations. From the right to left is called as the retrograde, and in vertically flip it's known as the inversion. They can also do the backward from here. This is known as the retrograde inversion. Rochberg's earlier style was serialism. However, in the 60s, as he questioned the fundamental aesthetics and compositional ideas more, his desire to write back in tonality emerged. And in 1964, a horrible accident happened. His son, Paul Rochberg, passed away at the age of 20 from a brain tumor. Rochberg was very sad, and he found out, wow, okay, this is the end of serialism. I'm not going to write in this way anymore. As he said, after Paul died, that absolutely made it necessary for me to wash my hands out of the whole thing. The whole thing here means atonality, serialism. To write back in tonality, Rochberg developed the idea of musical collage, which basically means putting a lot of styles together. And he termed his style as ars combinatoria. However, around those days, many composers were not happy about what Rochberg was doing. They thought that Rochberg was just copying others' music, they're just using the existing styles. To fight back, Rochberg wrote many essays, many articles to support his own ideas, and these are two collections of his writing. The first one, The Aesthetics of Survival, published by himself, and the second one, A Dance of Polar Opposites, published after his death. This comes to the birth of 50 Caprice variations. In 1968, Rochberg went to his daughter Chessie's ballet performance. The performance itself was accompanied by Brahms' variation and theme by Paganini, Opus 35. After that night, Rochberg couldn't stop playing the variations on the piano, and he composed sketches and sketches of variations for solo violin. And as you can see here, the sketches are the manuscript I found at the New York Public Library, and that's come to the birth of the 50 Caprice variation. The variations became the basics for his most renowned work, the Third String Quartet, which led him to win the Nuremberg Chamber Composition Awards in 1972. Rochberg used the 50 Caprice variation as a source book and expand them to a larger scale, the third string quartet. Now, I would like to talk about four main features of the Caprice variations. First is the technical difficulties. On the left is Louis Kaplan. He premiered the 50 Caprice variation in 1970. On the right, his name is Andrew Jennings. He is a professor at University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. He had a very close relationship with Rochberg, and he both performed and recorded the whole entire 50 Caprice variation, and they're available on YouTube. When I interviewed them, I asked them, so what do you think is the most challenging thing in playing this Caprice variation? They gave me an unanimous answer. They say everything. So I sum it up to a couple things here. The first is the physical stamina. It's a massive 90 minutes long Caprice variation, and each variation is very emotionally intense and physically demanding. So after playing 90 minutes long straight, it's quite exhausting. And full credit to my colleague Han, I'm not sure if he's here. The next feature is the double stops and chords. In the 50 Caprice version, there are a lot of double stops and chords. Now let me show you a couple examples here. This is number 11. This is part from number 38. This is from number 2. What's hard for string players playing double sides, like playing 2 fingers and 3 fingers down in a row for a long time? Not only it's hard for the intonation, but also it's quite tiring for the muscles. Third is awkward fingerings. Rochberg himself he's not a violinist, and he saw musical ideas as the most important thing. So you will see in the Caprice variation there are a lot of big jump in the positions, and sometimes you have to twist your finger in order to get all the notes together. This is one of the hardest variation, number 41, and as you can see, there's big shifting here, and then we have a lot of double stops, and then big shift, big jump in the register. And it is hard because it's not only hard technically, because the atonal, the non-tonal texture gives the hearing harder, not just to find the intonation, but also to figure out the phrasing and harmonic structure. This is Peter Shepard-Scavitt. He's a British violinist who had a very close relationship with Rochberg since 1998. Since 1998 until Rochberg's death, he performed and recorded the 50 Caprice variation a lot. Rochberg mentioned about Peter in his memoir, 5 Line 4 Spaces. He said, "It was an amazing display of sheer technical prowess and bravura, emotionally rich in projection. Musicianly to the nth degree, Peter has a thoroughly personal way of performing." Peter Scavitt told me that Rochberg was particularly proud about this variation among the 50 variation. He once sent the 2 options of the recording to Rochberg. The first one is a very clinical performance. Second one is over-the-top, crazy mad performance. And surprisingly, Rochberg preferred the second one. He doesn't like the clean way to perform it at all. So it gives us it's more difficult to play in the out-of-control way. Now the second feature is the stylistic references. As I mentioned before, Rochberg based the Paganini's theme as a basis, and all the 50 variations are based on this theme, and he incorporated many different styles in it. The first style he used in the variation is the style of Baroque. Let's take a look at the music here. So you might think that, well, the notation doesn't look like Baroque at all, but let's think about what are the features in Baroque music. First is the fugal texture. So let's take a look here. We will see the first voice enters here, and then the second voice enters here, and then the third voice. So it's a 3-part counterpoint. Another feature is the stepwise the stepwise motion in each voices. So you can see here we have the D sharp, D, C sharp, C natural, B, C, B, A. And let me play this line for you. You will see these features a lot throughout this variation. Another thing is the dissonance always resolves to consonants. So you can take a look in here. This is a dissonance and it will resolve to the consonants. Back to the consonants. So about the notation here, it might not look like Baroque at all, but Rochberg is using the specific notation to indicate that this is in the Baroque style. It's the Baroque gesture. So let me play for you the beginning 3-4 bars. And notice here we have a tenuto line here, and then a dot with a rest. Rochberg used this notation to indicate the decaying gesture in the Baroque tradition. This is in the style of Baroque. Next one, number 42, is in the style of Classicism. This particular one is in Galant style. So what are the features of Galant style? Simplicity, very simple melodic line compared to Baroque one. It's more complex, but the texture here is more simple. Also, the character is very lighthearted, leggero. Distinction between the tonic dominant harmonic progression, and distinction between the accompaniment line and the melodic line. So I will play you this excerpt and you can feel the simplicity compared to the Baroque one. This is in the style of Classicism. Next one, Romantic Virtuoso, and the leading figure is Paganini. Let's take a look at the example here. The green highlight here symbols trumpet fanfare. The red highlight here symbols snare drum rolling. These two contrasting figures, you will see this a lot in Paganini's Opus 1 Caprice. And the quick switching between the two different characters makes the music very virtuosic. So let me play the two measures for you. Rochberg also incorporates some dance music in the Caprice variation. Number 32 is in the style of tango. So instead of showing you the music here, I would like to play the beginning for you. You can observe the alternation between the rhythmic accompaniment pattern and the expressive lyrical melancholic melodic line, which creates the suspenseful atmosphere of tango music. The next one, although Rochberg abandoned serialism, he still incorporated some non-tonal techniques, 20th century non-tonal techniques, into the 50 Caprice variation to realize the polar opposites idea. So this one, he's using the pitch collection 0 to 6. So the first three note is the pitch collection 0 to 6. When we rearrange the order, the A is the 0, and 2 means 2 semitones up. So we have the B. 6 means 6 semitones up from the 0 tone. So we have this is the 0 to 6. The next line, we also have 0 to 6 here. When we rearrange it, 0 to 6. The next one, we have 0 to 6 again here. And then the last line, we have a couple tritone here. And Rochberg was playing with different timbre from very high register here, and then colano, ordinary arco, and then tremolo, solpotincello. So this is quite a modern style in the 50 Caprice variation. Now you might ask me, well, then what's the relationship with the Paganini theme? Let's take a look here. So the first 0 here is A. And the next 0 here is E. So he is still using very subtle tonic dominant harmonic progression even in the modern variations. The third feature is musical quotation. And this is what made Rochberg one of the most famous composer in 20th century. So what is musical quotation? I would like to use two paintings I saw, one at MoMA, one at Whitney Museum, to tell you what this is. This is Camouflage the Last Supper by Andy Warhol, 1986. Andy Warhol quoted the Last Supper as a basis and put the popular pattern camouflage on it, and it becomes his own work. And you can compare it with the real Last Supper by Da Vinci. This is also by Andy Warhol, The Last Supper Dove. Before Andy Warhol's death, he created a cycle of painting based on the Last Supper. The two objects creates tension, which vividly resonate our theme, a dance of polar opposites today, between the religious subject and popular icons. This one is particularly using the corporate logos here. So it creates tension between the religious subject and corporate logos, also original and copy, abstraction and figuration, depth and surface. So that's summed up what is musical quotation. So it means you cut it from an existing pattern or music, and you might want to find another piece, and you put them together, you mix it with your own idea, and then ta-da, this is your own work, your salad. So Rochberg has three main ways using musical quotation. The first one is direct transcription. So for example, the original music is for solo piano, and then he would directly transcribe to solo violin. So the example I would like to show you is number 11. He quoted from Brahms' Opus 35, number 11. So I would like to play for you this excerpt. Let me show you the original music now. Rochberg directly transcribed from the piano part, right-hand piano part. And let me play for you the music now. This is direct transcription. The next one is quotation with development, which means Rochberg quoted from an existing piece of music. He will develop based on the existing material there. So the example is number 7. He quoted from Beethoven's String Quartet, Opus 74, number 10, which is also known as the harp quartet. So let me play for you the string quartet versions. And this is from number 7, Rochberg's variation. And you see at the beginning, he transposed from the original C minor to the A minor to fit into the Paganini's A. This is the beginning. Here, instead of keep transposing, he developed based on the existing motive. This is quotation with development. The third one is juxtaposition of quoted music. And the example I would like to show is number 24. He quoted from a motive in Brahms' Violin Concerto and juxtaposed it with a motive from Paganini's Opus 1, number 9. So the beginning is this figure. This is Frank Paganini, and then Brahms. Paganini again, Brahms. So this entire variation is the juxtaposition of two materials. Last but not least, to realize the two words, the polar opposites idea, now we have the tonality. So instead of using the atonal, Rochberg's previous style, he removed the tonality and to realize the opposites. The example I would like to show you is number 41. He quoted Weber's Passacaglia number 1. So from the beginning, this is Rochberg's 41. From the beginning to the blue line here, he directly transposed from the Weber's D minor to A minor. And that's here the beginning of that's here the section from Weber's Passacaglia. In D minor, and then he transposed to A minor. From the first blue line to the next blue line here, he used 20th century composing techniques inversion. So what is that? Let me show you. The beginning is from C, and then a minor third down, and a perfect fourth down. Inversion is from a minor third up and a perfect fourth off. So this entire section is the inversion. And then the last section here, he transposed a minor second up from the beginning section. So this is C, A, E, a minor third down, a perfect fourth down. And here we have D flat, B flat, and F. So this whole section is the transposition of minor second up from the first section here. The next example is in number 45. Rochberg used modular approach to Paganini's rhythm with the feeling of octatonic collections. So this is number 45. I would like to use the first 3 bars to explain this. So modular approach, what is modular approach? It means you group the rhythm basics and then you switch alter it. So the Paganini's beginning is the ta, 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 da, 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 and then you switch it. The 16 notes goes to the beginning, and then the dotted rhythm goes to the second beat. So this is called modular approach. Octatonic scale. One of the major development in 20th century is the development of new scales. Traditionally, we have major scale, minor scale, but now we have more options, and octatonic scales are one of them. Octatonic scale means the alternation in the scale. There's an alternation between a whole tone and semitone. So you can see here, our beginning note is the C. A semitone up, we get D flat. A whole tone up, we got E flat. A semitone up. So it's the alternation between semitone and whole tone. So the first 3 bars, these notes are from the red circle here. And then there are 3 kinds of octatonic scales. Octatonic scale 0, 1, which we start from C and then C sharp. Octatonic scale 1, 2, we start from C sharp and then D. Octatonic scale 2, 3, we start from D and then E flat. So let's take a look of how Rochberg manipulated the 3 scales here. 0, 1 is shown in the green highlight here. Scale 1, 2 is shown in red highlight here. Scale 2, 3 is shown in the orange line here. So these are the 4 main features of Rochberg's 50 Caprice variation: the technical difficulties, musical quotation, stylistic references, and last but not least, the removal of tonality. Rochberg uses approaches to realize his style as combinatoria and to realize the idea of polar opposites. And although this piece is not yet a commonly performed piece, I hope in the future there will be more violinists who want to perform this and more people will listen to this Caprice variation. And I would like to end my presentation here. Later in the second half, it will be the performance of 23 selective variations. As I'm performing, you can think about what is the relationship with the variation I'm playing and to the Paganini theme. You can also think about what are the 2 polar ideas in that particular variation. There is if you have the program note there at the back, there's a QR code. There's no program note. Or on the poster, there's a QR code. You can scan it, which will lead you to the website, and you can find the program notes there, and there's a feedback form. You can tell me what you think about it, your new discoveries, or your question. I would love to answer you and share with you. And there's also the copy of the program notes. If you are interested in it, you can feel free to grab one. And now we have 15 minutes 15 minutes intermission, and I'll see you in 15 minutes. Thank you very much.